Page 186 in your reader's notebook. It says using quotation marks at the top. So, when you write, show what someone says by putting quotation marks at the beginning and end of the speaker's exact words. Now, those quotation marks that are in the punctuation or in the parentheses, they kind of look a little fancy, like little curvy marks. You can make little curvy marks. You can make like straight marks. It doesn't really matter. They kind of look almost like number 6s that are filled in and then number 9s on the other side that are filled in. It doesn't really matter what they look like per se. You don't have to get too elaborate with them. They're really just kind of like little marks at the beginning and the end of the speaker's exact words. So here's 2 examples of speaking sentences. Luis said, I play the drums. So the speaking part that he says is, I play the drums. And then the next one is, Kim said, I play the guitar. So her speaking part is, I play the guitar. Now, we're going to write each sentence and put quotation marks around the speaker's exact words. So the first sentence says, Jamal asked, will you play for me? What is the speaking part in that sentence? What does Jamal actually ask, Jamie? It's right there in your book. It's also right up here on the board. And number 1. Will you play for me? That's the speaking part. So when we write the sentence, Jamal asked, we keep the comma there right after the word asked. They already gave it to us. Then we have to put our quotation marks before the speaking part, will you play for me? Now notice the capital W in the middle of the sentence. Normally, I would say to you, you cannot have a capital letter in the middle of your sentence unless it's a proper noun, right? When we have speaking parts, the speaking part always starts with a capital letter. Whether it's in the middle of the sentence, at the beginning of the sentence, at the end of the sentence, the speaking part always has a capital letter. So the capital W on will should be there. Will you play for me? We keep our question mark because he's still asking that sentence, and then we put the last quotation mark after the question mark. You do not have to look on the board to write this sentence. You have this sentence in your book. All you need to look on the board for is to see where to put the quotation marks. But the sentence itself, if you cannot see the sentence itself, it's right there in your book. You can do it in your book. Friends at home, when you have it, hold it up for me. Yes, Jamie. Okay, Jamie, don't worry about that right now. Right now, worry about this. Okay? You can throw that away later. Yes, Logan.
What's that thing in between the A and the K?
It's the word asked, Logan. I just said you don't have to look up on the board to write the sentence. You've got all the words right there. The only thing that you need to worry about is where those quotation marks go. Great, Kaden. Great, Jake. Friends at home, when you have that, hold it up for me. And I'll make my quotation marks be red here so that you can see where they stand out. Right there and right there. Okay? We put the quotation marks around the speaking parts. I'll do a little zoom around here to see how we're doing. Come on, you should have the whole sentence written, not just the speaking part. The whole sentence needs to be written. No, erase, start over. Start at the very beginning of the sentence and write the whole sentence with the speaking part. Make sure you still have a question mark at the end and that your quotation marks go after the question mark. Okay, where's your beginning quotation mark on this one? I see your end quotation mark, but where should the beginning quotation mark be? That's not where I have it on the board. Zayden, it's time to pay attention. Make sure this is a capital W and that's a lowercase p. Okay, where's your quotation marks? That's the whole idea of this activity. And the comma that they already give you, where are they? Put them in your sentence. Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you, Yanessa. Kinsley, when you have yours, hold it up. Timothy, when you have yours, hold it up. Thank you, Kinsley. Good. All right. Now, let's look at sentence number 2. Luis said, "We will play for you." What is the speaking part in that sentence, Zayden?
The speaking part is I asked, will you play for me?
No. Number 1, we're on sentence number 2.
It's we will play for you.
Right. We will play for you is the speaking part. So when we rewrite the sentence, we need to make sure that we put the quotation marks before we and after the period after the word you. So now when we rewrite the sentence, Luis said, make sure you're putting that comma there that they already gave you in the sentence. And then put your quotation mark before the word we. We will play for you. And then the period stays the same. And then you put the closing quotation mark after the period. Okay? Great, Rosemary. Thank you. Thank you, Kaden. There we go. Good job. I'm going to come around, zoom around a little bit. Now this one, these can actually curve the other way, so it's kind of like closing it in. Okay, so one side curves this way, the other side curves that way. So closing it in. If you want to use the curvy lines like that. Okay, capital W, just like it is right there. Okay, make sure you're following it exactly how it is. Fix it. Should be a capital W on the word we. There should be a capital W on the word we. They start the speaking part with a capital letter. It stays the same. Where are your quotation marks? Okay, this goes after the period. You have to have the quotation marks at the end after the period. And the capital letter at the beginning of the speaking part stays there. Better. Good. Make sure after the word said, where's the word said? Luis said, capital W on the word we. Make sure that you keep a comma after the word said. Don't put a period after the word said. Great, Jake. Thank you. Thank you, Yanessa. Make sure it's a comma after the word said. Not a period, it's a comma. Also, make sure your quotation marks are up near the top of the words. They are not floating in the middle of the line. They're not down at the bottom like another kind of punctuation. They're actually up near the top of the words. Great, Kinsley. Timothy, when you have it ready, hold it up.
Look, and are those your pencils on the ground?
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do number 3. Kim asked, do you play too? What's the speaking part in that sentence? What's the talking part in that sentence, Angelina? And this is sentence number 3. Kim asks, do you play too? What's the speaking part in that sentence? Right, do you play too is the speaking part. So we need to make sure we put our quotation marks around that speaking part. When you start your sentence, it starts exactly the same as it is. Kim asked. And then make sure you put a comma after the word asked because it's right there. They give it to you. Then you start your quotation marks. Do you play too? Now the word do is going to stay capitalized because it's the beginning of the speaking part. And after the word play, you still need to put that comma in there that they already give you because that's a different kind of punctuation. And we'll talk about that at another time. Now, my closing quotation marks goes after whatever my end mark is, whether it's my question mark. Great, Jake. Great, Rosemary. Thank you, Kaden. Nice job. Make sure your end quotation mark. Jamie, come on. Let's go. We're writing sentences. Let's get this done. Do you play too? Make sure your quotation marks go after the question mark at the end of that sentence. Make sure two has two O's, by the way. It's supposed to be that way. Do you play too? There should still be a comma there because they give you one. You need to say the same. That's another form of the word too. Your quotation marks go after the question mark. After the end punctuation, whatever your end punctuation is. Good. Where's your quotation marks at the beginning of your speaking part? Not in the middle of the word asked. Where should it go? Before what word?
Before you.
Right, so put yours before the word do. There you go. Thank you. We don't stick them in the middle of a word. Good. Thanks, Kinsley. Yes, Logan, what's your question? Make sure you put an O for the word do. You have d. D. Great, Vanessa, thank you. Okay. All right, let's look at number 4. Jamal answered, I play the piano. What's the speaking part in that sentence? What does Jamal say in that sentence, Landon?
I play the piano.
I play the piano. Yep, so when we put our quotation marks around our speaking part, we need to put them before the word I and after the period at the end of piano. So Jamal answered, comma, and then we put our quotation marks to start our speaking part before the word I play the piano. And then the quotation mark that closes the sentence goes after that period. Whoops, I forgot to put the O on piano. Goes after that period at the end of the sentence. Okay? Great, Rosemary. Thank you, Kaden. Good. Where's the word I? Jamal answered, where's I? Okay, but it should be a capital I, not a lowercase I. When I is by itself, it's always a capital letter. Good. Nice. Good. Good, make sure that's a lowercase p right there, okay? It drops below the ground line. Everything you need is right here in your words. You don't have to worry about anything, looking up the board for any of the words. You have them all in your own sentence. You just have to look to see where to put the quotation marks. Thanks, Kinsley. Thanks, Jake. Thank you, Yanessa. All right. One more sentence. The kids said, come play with us. So what did the kids say? What is the speaking part in that sentence, Lonnie? Come play with us. Very good. So make sure our quotation mark starts before the word come and ends after the exclamation part after us. Okay? The kids said, comma. And then I put my quotation marks. My C for the word comes is staying capital because it's our speaking part. It needs to start with a capital letter. Come play with us. Exclamation point. I think I would use an exclamation point too because it would be exciting. Come play with us. There we go. Close my quotation marks. Okay. Great, Rosemary. Thank you. Thank you, Kaden. Thanks, Jake. Yeah. Yeah. Where's your beginning quotation marks? Where's the comma after the word said? Where's the capital T on the word the at the beginning of a sentence? Come on. Let's go. Where's the capital T at the beginning of a sentence? You don't have to change the capital at the beginning of a sentence. It stays the same. Good. Good. Nice job. Good. Now make sure your quotation marks are not floating above the word. They need to be before the word, not above the word floating in the air. They come before the word. Okay? Also, make sure you're doing the same thing. Make sure they're before the word, not floating above the word. Come play with us. Good job. Right, Kinsley? Thank you, Yanessa. All right. Once you have this down, go ahead. You can put this away.